there was a lot of heat coming down on the NFL last night for not just canceling the game. And then there was a report about 5 minutes to warm up. Let's get back out there. Troy Vincent, vice president of the NFL, former player of the NFL, now works for the NFL. And he is a very vocal part of the NFL when it's new rules or when things are happening because he is former player. So they have the NFL basically have, hey, will you please tell the players, because you're a former player, why this is happening, how it's happening. He's in a position of power. Troy Vincent is everywhere Goodell is, pretty much. Combine, he's with Goodell. Draft, he's with Goodell. Super Bowl, he's with Goodell. He is any rule change, Troy Vincent's face is on the video.
He's the guy.
He's a very powerful What I'm saying is, I know Goodell is just the name that everybody thinks is power. He is. He's the commissioner. He's overall. But Troy Vincent, very powerful in this whole thing. He came out and said, we never said 5-minute brief and then we're going to play again. And I assume that decision was made by somebody on the field who might be loosely associated with the NFL. Maybe they do have a position of the NFL and they told somebody that, because we saw Burrow throw. We saw Stephon Diggs kind of try to rally the boys while crying. What a position. I have no idea how that whole grieving process that we were watching live with what they assumed probably happened, just like all of us, is crazy to think about in judging them alongside like a sane person, because I don't think they were in a sane situation at all. But the NFL came out and was like, we never said that. So somebody spoke out of line, certainly said that, because why is Joe warming up? Why is Stephon Diggs talking to the team? Then the booth, right, they get a heads up from Lisa Sartor, I think, did an incredible job last night. They get a heads up probably of why Joe Burrow's warming up, why Stephon Diggs. She probably gets, hey, somebody told them 5 minutes and then kind of figure it out and then let's get back out there. So then that's either reported by Joe or Troy or by Suze, Booger, and Schefter, who also – everybody was put into a
terrible spot,
tough position. So I'm not going to judge anybody for anything. That's a very difficult situation. There was a couple times where Susie asked Booger, how do they get back ready to play a game? And this is early. This is before we knew everything that we knew at the end. So I think that is a valuable piece of the conversation of all of them. When were these things said? What do we know at the time? Because the way that developed, it got real quick. It went real far real quick. Susie asked Booger, like, how do you think they get back ready to play a game? And Booger was like, we're not talking. Booger was like, I need to hear that my teammate is alive before, basically. Great answer by Boog. Susie then asked Schefter. So I was like, oh, Susie's being told by somebody in her ear, like, hey, we're gonna play again, so let's try to figure that out. Let's get a take on that. I don't think that was her. I think that was somebody like, hey, for the good of the show, like, let's try to figure out how these guys are going to be able to get out there. Then we go back, and then that was when Taylor and McDermott decided to go back to the locker rooms.
Yes.
And I wonder how that conversation went. And I also wonder the NFL sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck to do as well. That's a fascinating story that I'm sure we'll never hear. Well, where did the 5-minute thing come from? Because Troy Vincent comes out and says that's not real at all. And we know Dahn Aponte was there. It was her phone being used. We've been told, who knows if that's real or not.
That's right.
Taylor and McDermott talking to Roger. Is that Roger Goodell?
It was either Roger or similarly, almost similarly high-ranking league executive. Yeah, I mean, I know Roger Goodell was on the phone with several of the people on the ground last night.
Okay, so that's Roger Goodell that Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor are talking to on Dahn Aponte's phone. What happened with the 5-minute? We saw Joey Burrow start throwing some footballs again. We saw Stephon Diggs yelling and motivating the team, which, tough. That's all going forward.
I don't know how you do that anyway.
Going forward, going to be tough. I mean, that's just very, very difficult. And then the teams go off. That phone call happens. My breakdown of it, and I might be wrong, I'd like to hear more from you. The internet and everybody was like, cancel the damn game. The guy, and I think so too. I think as soon as they went into the locker room, the NFL didn't expect, or the players didn't expect, to go back onto the field. Was that decision made with the Bills and the Bengals much earlier than it was made public? And how do you think that 5-minute warm-up thing came to be, if you just had to guess, not that you know?
Yeah, we'll start with the 5-minute warm-up part because, I was on the conference call last night with Troy Vincent, and he seemed really frustrated called it insensitive. So I don't know where that came from. It was said, I believe it was Joe Buck, several times on the broadcast last night. I wish I knew how the message got from whoever he got it from to him. He is very good. He is very professional.
Yeah, we're talking about one of the
Doubt that-
greatest of all time there. He's not just gonna he's not just gonna shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
So someone with a lot of say-so, someone important, I assume, but don't really know, must have said to him, the protocol is when there's a stoppage, there's 5 minutes, but I don't really know. And the NFL seemed extremely, and Troy Vincent specifically, extremely upset about that. And you know, I was watching like you guys. Diggs was kind of trying to, you know, talk to him and trying to rally the team, and Burrow was warming up. And, you know, we heard the 5 minutes on the broadcast, and no one seemed to move at all. So I don't know. I mean, there was, except for Burrow, there really wasn't anyone who looked like they were getting ready to play at all. So I don't know if that 5 minutes was communicated actually on the field, because like you're saying, like as soon as they went in the locker room, I think everyone knew like they're probably not coming out. Like that seemed to be the way that it was going, and it seemed to be necessary. I just don't know how the message got to Joe Buck, and it was, I believe it was repeated on a couple different platforms as well, like the Spanish broadcast, I believe, a couple different places.
And when they sent it back to Susie, Schefter, and Boog, Susie was obviously told either from the same person that told Joe or internally, like, hey, Joe just said this. We got to get it. Because she asked Boog about getting ready to get back to play. And then Boog was like, kind of, and then she asked Schefter again. And as somebody that has now done some TV, okay, numerous places, that was clearly coming. That was clearly like her asking that question was coming from somebody. And then when Boog didn't answer, it's like, hey, we have to get this back to the game because that's going to happen. So it was just like a natural belief, it seemed like, by everybody. The 5 minute thing was real. And with the world we're in, though,
and
spread. There was a Bears guy,
Yeah.
Brendan something, got like 14 million impressions on his tweet about the 5 minute thing and being upset about it. And that thing kind of went.
I mean, there was
a lot of that.
There was a lot of that.